Tell me when. Okay. All right, everybody. Hey, we're going to do something different today. This is Charlie Newton from Splash, and today we're going to do some doodling. Some doodling. Doodling is one of the most valuable practices, I believe, an artist can do. It's really good for, even if you're not an artist, it's real good for calming the mind. It's real good for accessing your subconscious mind. It's good to access that place where creativity lives, and it's doodling is very valuable in that sense. So when we doodle, we're using what's called, the psychologists call it free association thinking. Free association. That means we are not focused on anything. We're just letting our hands move subconsciously. You can doodle when you're talking on the phone. You can doodle when you just, want to relax. You can doodle while watching television. And I want you to do some doodling. And you can get out. We're going to use an ink pen. You can doodle with a pencil or ink pen. I sort of like the ink pen for doodling because it makes strong lines. So if you have an ink pen, get your ink pen out. I'm going to show you some of my doodles, and uh, and then I'm going to demonstrate doodling, and after that, I'm going to uh, do a critique or explain some of my personal artwork. And while I'm explaining my work, I want you to doodle. While I'm showing you this, I want you to just start doodling now if you can. But you don't have to think about what you're doing. It doesn't have to be anything. See, we're trying to free the mind, free yourself from judgment. And that's where you can access your art, when you free yourself from too much self-criticism and judgment. So here, I'm not a fashion designer by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm just trying to, one day I just wondered, can I design a dress? So this one is very stiff, very stiff. But I just started playing around. No one would see this except myself and now you guys. Here's another one. I'm just trying to design an outfit, and I'm not a fashion designer. That's not something that I'm interested in. But I'm doing something that I normally would not do. So I want to get a little bit more creative here, and I came up with this dress. Just doodling. I wanted to even free myself even more, so I just doodled some type of abstract design, and it became the dress. So this is probably more like what a fashion designer would do. I'm also designing a hairstyle here. So you see how just doodling can help your creativity? Same thing here. So now it's beginning to look a little bit more loose, a little bit more like fashion. Now I'm going to show you some other doodles. You can ask me what this is. I have no idea what this is. Foo, F-O-O. And I will probably frame this. I think this is worth framing. So here I use two different ink pens. Here I even incorporated a marker and pencil. The grays are done with pencil. So pencil, ink, and markers, just doodling. I'll probably frame those. This is that guy that comes on. I was sitting in front of TV when I was doing this. Then PBS NewsHour came out. I forgot this guy's name, but I decided, okay, let me just sketch this face, and I did. Here is just a picture of my trying to design a sculpture. And that's working on sculpture design too. This is doodle with pencil. I drew a house figure, then I drew a different type of house, like an imaginary fantasy house that sort of looks like a tower. So I'm trying to access my creativity. Do pencil again. What is this? It's art. I don't know what it is. Okay, so I'm going to do a doodle now. Painting of my dog. One of our students. So when you do, you just, you know, you're not thinking about anything. I was talking to somebody. I'll tell you who I was speaking with. One of my mentors is a very famous African American artist. His name is Wadsworth Gerald. And Sunday before last, I decided to give him a call. He and his wife, Jay Gerald, lives in Ohio, and I believe Cleveland. And I was talking to him. I mean, our conversations, we was talking about things that happened years and years ago. We was talking about art. We was talking about, he used to be a professor at the University of Georgia. He was telling me something about one history professors that used to be my professor when I was in Italy. And I was just doodling, while we was talking. It was very free association. I was not paying attention at all. I'm paying more attention now to what I'm doing than then when I was talking to him. My mind was totally on my conversation. So when you doodle, say when you're talking to your friends on the phone, that's a good time to start doodling. You won't know because you won't do it. You're talking, and I'm talking a lot, so that I won't actually look at what I'm doing and start judging what I'm doing. You're glad at what you're doing, and you just keep drawing. But you are drawing with your right brain. It's similar to um, what Jackson Pollock did with his drip paintings, the famous abstract expressionist artist. He was using his right brain thinking, and he considered himself to be nature, the artist as nature. So, and I think that's a very good concept because he understood that the power is in the subconscious mind. And the surrealists, that was the group that Salvador Dali belonged to, they accessed the subconscious mind too, or the dream world. It's more like they were drawing dreams. So when you dream, you don't use your conscious mind because you are asleep. You're using your subconscious mind when you dream. And so that's what they did. They accessed that. I'm so glad that we're talking about doodling and the power of doodling. Why? Because I just became a better artist. I just became a better artist. And I am so happy about that. So there's power in doodling. So this is how you doodle, okay? Okay? And the great thing about doodling, it helps you to get over yourself, not to be so critical and, so emotional about your art that you can't even make art. Some people are so emotional that they can no longer make art. That they quit because, they just give up before they even start. So I have to start. Let's put the picture up. We're going to put some pictures up. I want you to doodle while I'm talking about the pictures. I'm going to go on Facebook and see these pictures. This first picture is a picture of me. Oh, let me turn my phone down. The first picture is a picture of me in my studio, and uh, and right now I'm seeing myself talk about the picture, but I want you to doodle while I'm talking. And what's happening is you are everything that I'm saying, you will remember, even though you don't remember, you remember. Everything that I'm saying to you right now, you can hear me, but if you focus more on your doodling, you can or focus more on me while you're doodling, what what I say is going to be planted in your right brain, in your subconscious or your unconscious mind. So this is a picture of me in my studio, and you can see some of the large paintings that I have stacked up like books behind me. And I've draped some plastic over those paintings because there's an air conditioner vent. The air conditioner is really above these paintings, and some guys were working on it, and I just draped plastic over it to just in case water dripped down from the air conditioner. And the painting behind me is called Ugali, and I'll talk more about that the next time. So everything that I make in my studio has meaning. One thing that I consider these days for the last maybe 30 years is I am a black man. I am an African American artist. I have my roots just like your roots. Everybody's roots are in Africa, whether you're black or white. So that's just history and anthropology. Okay, Africa is the cradle of civilization. So everybody uh, has roots in Africa. And so in this painting, I was thinking about my roots in Africa. And it's sort of free association painting, but it's a painting of something. Okay, let's go to the next image. So everything that I do has meaning. Even when I doodle, and I think we want to put the next picture up. Even when I doodle, uh, I'm still using my mind, my will, and my emotions, even when I doodle. So this painting is called something like um, On My Way Home or something like that. I may forget the name of some of these paintings. No, The Return, I think. And with this painting, what I wanted to do is paint a picture about how I felt before when I was homesick. There have been times when I wasn't in Chattanooga. I was either in Europe or I was in North Carolina or I was in Virginia. And after a year or so or a few months, I will begin to get homesick for Chattanooga. I grew up in Chattanooga. I was born and raised here. My entire family was born here, small family. My mother's name is Sarah Newton Woods, and my father's name's John Newton, my brother John Newton Jr. And they all have passed and gone home to be with the Lord now, but they are all buried here in Chattanooga. And that's why I feel that I have a right to live here and thrive here and be successful here as an artist. I shouldn't have to leave my hometown just to be an artist. And so that's what I'm fighting for now. I'm fighting for the right for you to be an artist. I'm fighting for the right for kids to grow up and use their talents and their ability. It's actually a fight, you know. So one wouldn't think it would be. But so I was obviously thinking about home. And so I wanted to paint a picture about home. Even though I've never lived in the country, I painted a country landscape. Now, my father from the country. My father is from uh, Georgia, Carrollton, Georgia. My mother's from Camp Hill in Waverly, Alabama, and they grew up in the country. And that's why this country-like barn um, uh, is in the background, right in the center of the painting. And I just I'm painting the picture something like the Impressionists. It's sort of like a mix of Impressionism and abstract expressionism. But I decided to make the tree limbs in the foreground blue, just a flat blue. And for me, that added to the psychological content. So when making your art, do whatever you want to. Feel free to do whatever you want to. All I ask, and I had an interview today uh, uh, with this and that. I think that's on television, and one of the things I feel is that as long as the person is honest, you give 100%. When I say honesty, I mean you try your best. You do your best. Your best is not someone else's best. It's your best. Once you put everything into it, then it's going to end up being pretty good. It's going to end up, if you try your best, you're going to create some art. Don't worry. It's going to almost be automatic. And so, as you can see, all of my work has meaning for me, usually emotional, psychological, history. There's always a place for history. And the way that I organize the painting, you see the path as it winds back into the distance. You see that S curve. In all of my work, you see an S curve, and it's it's all it's intuitive. It's the way I balance my artwork. I'm also into the to yin and yang, hard and soft, opposites, and I incorporate that into this painting. And you can see in the lower right-hand corner, you see a shadow on the ground, and that's my shadow. And now all this came from my mind. It did not come. I didn't have a photograph. I didn't have a picture. It came from my mind. Well, I may have had when I look at these cabins, I must have had a picture for that, but it was very associated. Um, that's the power. When you doodle, you give your brain exercise. I hope you're doodling now. I hope you're doodling now. So I use colors in this painting, blues and greens, and my warmer colors, yellows and reds, I just use bits and pieces of that. Okay, let's go to the next painting. And what I'm going to do is, while I'm talking to you about my painting, my next painting, I'm going to doodle. So this is a painting I did for West Side Evolves. There was a meeting, and Splash is located in College Hill Courts on the west side. We've been there for 10 years now. I have been in the west side doing things for 14 years, but as far as a nonprofit free art school for kids, that's been formal for 10 years. 4 years before that, we had a youth church there. We planted a church there. We had adults going to the church. And first we met in the Sheila M. Jennings Rec Center, and we met there for 4 years. And we always wanted to engage children because I grew up on the west side. And and then after that 4 years in the Sheila M. Jennings, when we founded Splash, we just moved our church into the James A. Henry School building. And so the West Side means a lot to me. It's my home. It's where I grew up. It's where I dreamed of being an artist. I went to school at James A. Henry School building from the second to the 6th grade. And so I grew up there. It's all my informative years were on the west side. And so as we were in that meeting and thinking and talking, because I want to turn the entire school building into an art school where we can train kids in all of the arts, even the theater arts and dance and music, the whole 9 yards. And I want to focus on my culture, which is African American culture, because we need to know our history. I'm very proud of who I am. That's why one of the reasons why I could go to college and graduate from school and not get in any trouble when I was a kid is because when I was growing up going to James A. Henry School, our teachers made us, went to James A. Henry and then went to Howard. Our teachers made us be proud of ourselves. Our teachers were they were, first of all of my teachers were black, all of them. They could not work in the white schools at that time from the first to the 8th grade. So they were all black, and so they taught us to be proud of ourselves. And they explained to us, how the world works. And that's why I'm a champion for black culture here in Chattanooga, basically. Our culture is just as important as anybody else's. But when I use the word black, anybody who know me and my history and my life know that we do not exclude anybody. We teach everybody. So why am I saying all this? I just want you to know that my artwork has meaning because my life has meaning. So I was thinking today that everybody believes in something, even if they think they believe in nothing. If you think you don't believe in anything, that's what you believe in. You believe in not believing in anything. So whenever I'm talking, like now, what I have in my mind, as you can see the picture that's back up, all the children that I represent, before the pandemic, we would teach about 800 children from all over Chattanooga, not just the west side, all over Chattanooga a year. That was an average for us, around 800 kids a year. And after the pandemic is over, we're going to start I'll have to start all over. So I hope you guys will support Splash. By the way, we're going to raise some income for Splash. We're going to have an art class start next week in watercolors. There will be a cost for that class, but those costs will go back into Splash to help pay for free art classes for kids who can't afford to pay for art classes. So whenever I'm using the word black or something like that, it's because, the culture that we study, Western culture, is white culture. We celebrate Irish culture. We celebrate St. Patrick's Day. We celebrate German culture in our city. Every October, there's an Oktoberfest. But when you use the word black, for some reason, people feel threatened by it. But, I happen to be a black man, so. Also, I did 15 years of prison ministry. We ministered to everybody. So anybody who know me know that I'm a loving, kind person. There's nothing wrong with black art and black culture. I mean, what kind of art am I going to make? It's the only art I can make. Let's go to the next slide, please. So everything I do has meaning. Everything. Now, your work don't have to have obvious meaning. And I think this free association practice is very, very good. It's very good because this This thing I did here, I don't even know what it is, but I could easily color it. And it's art. This is art. We're creating art here. And it's real art and it's true art. So this painting is the one you saw me with, and I wanted you to see me with it so you could see the size of it. Many of my paintings that I do are so large, much larger than this. But this is called ugali, and ugali is some an African food, a type of meal mix, and that's all I know. But the reason I painted this picture, I just wanted to do something that celebrated my history. So I decided to make this painting. Also, I wanted to do something that I thought was spiritual. And when you start thinking about your history, where you come from, when I say where I come from, I was born in Chattanooga, but my genes come from Africa. So you start thinking about the history of civilization and stuff like that. So I don't know. I was just in some kind of mood, and I found a picture of these ladies making this meal, and what I wanted to do was abstract it, loosen. I want all my paintings to be loose, and I want my paintings to look like they painted themselves. I want my paintings to look like free association, and so that's what I did. So you see like a dark shadow falling on them, and you see them stirring. You can see a lot of brush strokes, and the light is coming from the background. And I don't know if I can describe, there's an emotion here that I had. It's like a reverence, a type of reverence for Africa and blackness and who I am and where we come from, who we are, and our strengths. And I'm actually trying to paint my emotion, and I'm trying to paint spirituality too. So uh, people like Mark Rothko, and we've studied him. The past last year, I think we did something on Rothko. Uh, his paintings would not have any figures in it at all. It would just be paint saturation, and his brush strokes, which were smoothed out. Actually, many times he painted with rollers. Rollers, he did use rollers. And so they weren't actually brush strokes. But the way he applied the paint was very meditative. And what he wanted to do, he wanted a person to, when they looked at his painting, to get lost in the color. And colors can do that, and paint can do that. Let's go to the next slide, please. As you can see, I'm still drawing. It's still free association. And it's not that you don't know what you're doing. You look down. I glance down at this drawing, and then I'll see some things. And when I see something, I will enhance it. Like right now, I'm glancing down and I see a face, and I'm sort of enhancing it a little bit. But I don't have to. This is a painting I call Gabriel. I have those who know me personally know I'm a minister. I'm a preacher, and I'm thinking about when the last trumpet sounds. So I actually wanted to do a painting. I tried to figure out how can I make a painting about something sort of scary but powerful. And when I thought about some of the stories in the Bible, I thought about the chariots of fire that you would see in the Bible. So I put Gabriel in a chariot of fire. So I tried to shape this fireball, that's swooping down out of the air, you know, like a chariot, sort of. So I was just using my imagination. Now, these free association doodling, this doodling, I don't doodle like everybody. We are artists, so our doodles are, they can become powerful. Uh, so, I just try to imagine. Doodling will help your imagination. Now, we spend all this time practicing, right? We spend all this time practicing drawing still lifes and drawing landscapes and painting landscapes and painting still lives. You know, it's so that you can do this. So you can imagine. So you remember everything that you see, smell, or touch. So all the practice that you do will equip you to draw from your mind. My wife Iantha, all of her paintings are from her mind. All her paintings, she never look at things and paint. I use references a lot. Because I draw a lot of figures. I think because I'm interested in people, I'm really interested in people. I've spent most of my life working with people. That may be why uh, I draw figures. Even when I'm doodling, a figure will come up. I'm very concerned about the human condition. And that's just my practice as an artist. Every artist is different. Well, my wife, for most of her work, a lot of her works are landscapes, and they're very beautiful landscapes. And she don't even look at a picture of a landscape. It just comes from her mind. She's doodling on canvas, actually. It's a doodle. Very creative. And she let the paint tell her what to do. The shapes and the forms and the colors. She just allowed them. The painting paints itself. Is that right, Iantha? Okay. Yeah, the painting paints itself, and that makes it more. It looks more like art. It'll look more like art when the painting can paint itself. My painting don't paint itself, but I want it to look like it painted itself. There's a difference. So I have to struggle with that. I'm getting better. So don't be surprised if you see some of these doodles in a show. Oh, by the way, if you're watching this and you have a child that likes to draw, and if you can afford to pay for an art class, we rarely charge for an art class. But if a person, some people can really afford art classes, they support Splash. So every now and then we allow people to pay, and that will support people who cannot pay. So I'm just doodling. Now, remember in our classes we talked about cross hatching? You can see I'm using cross hatching. By the way, I'm using a pen here. One of those, I love these gel pens. This one is from Pilot G2. I love the gel pens because the ink is very dark. And it's not like an art quiver. Uh, we're used to holding pens and pencils, so it's easier to draw with it. But this ink comes out very wet. So I'll do something down here and let you see. So if I make a mark, if I touch it, it's going to smudge. And that's why I like these pens, because the ink comes out very wet. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay. Okay. Let's go back to the Gabriel. So I don't think I finished talking about Gabriel. And then the last thing I'm going to do is talk about this picture I'm working on now, this doodle. that I'm working on right now. I hope you guys have been doodling while I've been talking. You know, we used to go to church every Sunday. Our parents made us go to church every Sunday. My mother, I'm not going to say our parents, but my mother made us, we had to be in church every Sunday. And every Sunday, I would get one of those programs and I would doodle on the programs. While the church service was going on, while the choirs were singing, and the announcements were being made, and the deacons were praying, and the preacher was preaching, I would be doing this. And my mother, I did it every Sunday, okay? And my mother got angry with me because she thought that I wasn't paying attention to the preacher. So she got angry with me about doodling. Now my father, he never got angry with me about drawing. He protected my art. No matter what I was doing, I was never wrong. If I was drawing, I was never wrong. I couldn't be wrong, okay? So he supported me. My mother didn't quite understand. So she told me that I had to stop drawing during church service. And I told her, I'm listening. I'm hearing everything the preacher's saying. She said, really? You're hearing what the preacher's saying? What did he say then? And I could, not knowing that I was, but I could recite the lesson that the preacher taught. And when she saw that I could tell her everything the preacher had said, she let me continue to doodle. It's funny. Tell you one more funny story. Oh, let me tell you about Gabriel first. Gabriel, he returns on the end of days, and he blows the trumpet. And when he blows that trumpet, it's heard all around the world. So you can see it in the upper left-hand corner. You can see a streak of yellow, and that's a trail. It goes off of the canvas. It comes back on the canvas in the upper right-hand side. It goes back off the canvas, and then it circles back around to the chariot of fire. So he's swooping in at the speed of light, a burst of fire, like a comet. And he's blowing that horn, and that horn is going to be heard around the world. Gabriel, blow your horn. So my focus was on a trumpet player, and how can I make an image of a trumpet player, but this guy's going to be the baddest trumpet player in the history of creation. And that's what was on my mind when I did this picture. Now I'm going to go back to my doodle. And I know we're going to be ending this a little quicker than normal. This class hasn't been as long, but I want to encourage you to continue to doodle. So you see that I'm just adding. Now I'm looking at what's here, and I'm just adding some cross hatching, some curved lines or whatever to enhance what's already here, which was, all of this was unplanned. This is the face I was telling you about at first when I first started drawing. A face appeared. So just by adding these little lines here, these little cross-hatching lines, jagged lines, this head is easier to see, but I didn't overdo it. I just want there to be a hint. If a person don't see that head, it's okay. So I'm going to tell you another story about my doodling. When I was in the first grade, there was a school on Main Street, and some of you, I don't even know if I remember the name of that school, elementary school, because I started in the first grade at that school, but then we moved for a year, and I wound up going to first grade at Orchard Knob Elementary School. So, uh, so I started the first grade at this school that was on Main Street, and I wound up going to Orchard Knob Elementary School in the first grade and part of the second grade. Then we moved back to the west side, and I went to James A. Henry School in the second grade. But what I would do with the pads, they would give you, the teachers would give you a pad to learn how to write, right? With these big lines on it. I would draw up all of my pads. I was 6 years old. I started drawing when I was 5. I would draw on every page in the pad, and it frustrated the teacher. Now, I did all of my work. I got all my lessons. I was one of the best students in class. But she told my mother, he's a good student. He just draws all the time. So my mother, of course, got on me about, drawing all the time because the teacher didn't like it, my first grade teacher. And so I told my mother, I hear everything the teacher's saying. I'm doing good in school and everything. I'm making great grades, good grades, all. I think the good grade at that time was S's, not A's. But all my grades were great. I was at the top of the class. And my mother talked to the teacher, and they made a deal. And they made a deal with me. And the deal was, if I kept getting good grades, and if I would do what the teacher wanted me to do in class first, and finish the class lesson first, she would allow me to keep drawing. So we made a deal. Just telling you these stories, these are things I don't think about much, but I was born to be an artist. Some of you listening to me now, you was born to be an artist. And I'm so glad that you are a part of Splash. I am so glad that I get to be your teacher. And I want to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing because you were born to be an artist. And I want you to practice doodling. Just get your sketch pad, fill your sketch pad up, then get another sketch pad and fill it up. You're not judging yourself. No judgment calls. Only you can really, no one else can judge your artwork. Only you can actually judge it. But you won't be able to truly judge your art until you graduate from college. So don't worry about judging it just yet, okay? When we start class again, I will critique your art. I will help you get better. But until then, don't worry about making judgment because nobody can judge your art. And no one can critique your art except another artist who know what they're talking about. So I hope you learned something from today. This was so much fun. I'm going to put my name on it. This was so much fun. I don't know what it is. I'll have to think of a name for it, or I can just say untitled. But this is what art looks like, guys. This is what art looks like. It comes out of your subconscious. It all comes out of your subconscious. It begins in your subconscious. And if it's realism, if it's realistic art, it ends with your conscious mind. Because even Iantha, like she starts painting with her subconscious mind, but she still make decisions with her conscious mind. Does this color work? Is this shape large enough? So she's going to use her mind at some point, but it's birthed out of her subconscious mind. It's free association. It's where creativity lives. Also, if you can do this, you can do math. I wasn't a math student, and I don't know why. If you can do this, you can do science, but you must believe in yourself. Never tell yourself you can't do something. You must believe in yourself, because the same logic that you use uh, when you doodle, you use your subconscious mind, and that's where all the knowledge is. It's in your subconscious. But when you start making decisions, you're using your conscious mind, like this decision I'm making on this doodle to make this darker, to crosshatch. That's the conscious brain. When you put those two together, that's where your mathematics and your science, that's where your creativity lies, right there. If you can do this, you can do math. You just can't tell yourself you can't do it. I'll tell you tell you a story. One it's weird, but you have a gift and you have a talent. So I pray that you use it. But this has been Charlie Newton. This has been Splash. Remember, always, art is for everyone. Bye bye.